Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, so today we are going to be playing around with a sure enough piece of vintage machinery, my metal planer that was made probably back in the late 1890s. Kind of just guessing, I don't know exactly. We restored this machine several years ago. There's a whole series of videos on the channel where we took this machine that quite honestly probably should have been scrapped just because of the condition it was in, but we saved it. Did quite a bit of work to get it up and going. And I haven't had a chance to really use it that much. Honestly, it's in today's world of machining, this is an obsolete machine. It's slow. It is not the most efficient machine in the world to operate, but you can do some really cool things on a metal planer such as this, particularly on long parts or stuff that you need to get really flat. I'm mainly playing with it because it's a cool machine. That's the reason that I like it. I like it because it's just an old cool machine, an old flat belt machine. I really enjoy using it because of that. But I also have a job coming up that quite honestly, I have not been able to get done any other way. And I think we're going to be able to do it over here on the metal planer. But before I do that, I'm just kind of playing with it, learning this machine a little bit. Even though I restored this machine a couple of years ago, haven't used it that much and trying to get a little bit more experience and practice with it before we go on to a more critical job. And the job that I got at hand right now is one of my straight edge castings, and we just playing. I've already planed the bottom of this. We planed it flat, turned out pretty good. And now what I want to do is I want to face off or cut off this 45-degree angle side of the straight edge and get it surfaced as well. So I've already kind of gotten some things set up here, but let me kind of show you where we're at, show you the setup we got, and we're going to get in here and start doing this. As with so many things in the machine shop, work holding is often one of your biggest challenges. And over here on the metal planer, this can be challenging as well, particularly when you have a part such as this casting that's kind of irregular shaped and difficult to grab a hold of. I think we've got a pretty good setup here that's going to hold up just fine and allow us to get this job done. Now, when doing planer work, there are actually some special hold downs and clamps and stuff designed for planers, and I really don't have a set. That's something I need to spend some time and actually make. There's some things you can do to kind of push on sides and what have you. I'm just using a regular clamp down set like you would use on a milling machine, and I think we got it done. One of the things I got here is we just put a couple of bolts down into the table. I got a bar across here, and the part is butted up against this. Because the way the tool pressure is pushing, it's going to try to push this part forward. So having a solid stop on the front is very important with any kind of planer work. And we've got that right here. And then of course I got this clamp down. Because of the flange, I got some spacers up underneath the bottom, and it's just clamped down flat. And then I've also got some pieces kind of coming in here on the sides to kind of keep it from pushing out. We're going to be putting pressure on this as it's going down, pushing it in this direction. So these will kind of hopefully keep that part from moving around. That's what we've got. And the job here, again, is we want to be cutting on this 45-degree face. Let me move the camera around when you can see that a little bit better. So this is the face that we want to be planing on here. This is actually going to be done at a 45-degree angle. It's just a rough casting right now. And to get this done, before we were just basically moving the cutter side to side on here. But what's cool about this machine is that this whole compound on here, we can rotate it to an angle, and I've got it rotated at 45 degrees so that when we're coming up and down, this cutter is going to actually move up and down at that 45-degree angle. We'll start at the top and just work our way down. It's going to come in and out, but instead of the table moving side to side, this is just going to be moving down. We'll lock the table down. There's a lock up here on the top. We're actually not going to be sliding back and forth except to adjust the depth of cut. We'll bring it forward a little bit at a time, but that's kind of the game plan here. So again, we've got it tilted over to 45 degrees, which is the angle that we want to cut. That's a really neat thing we can do here. And notice there are two rods inside this piece here. You got the screw down here on the bottom. The screw is what actually moves this part from side to side. We've got the top rod here. The top rod comes in here and connects, and when this rod turns, it actually turns the handle up here on the top and feeds this down a little bit at a time. So in this case, we'll lock it down, and we're going to feed down at that angle cutting across. I've got my Armstrong tool holder in here with just the high-speed steel, and I ground a cutter that's just kind of got a round bevel on it that we can hopefully just go in there and rough. Once we get it roughed, we'll come up with a cutter to do a planing cut, a flat cut, a finishing cut, kind of like we did on the bottom. So there's my setup. Hope that helps a little bit. Over here on the side, again, you see the two little rods coming out. I can put a handle on here, and again, you see that is moving the whole cross slide in and out. That's turning the screw on the bottom. When we turn this top one again, you can see the handle up here. It's going to actually turn. So this is actually engaged one-on-one there. Now, the way our feed works on this machine is you've got this little ratchet mechanism over here that is going to crank every time the table cycles. I can adjust how far it moves back and forth. It goes from this gear into this gear, and then I've got a little gear that I can slide on and off to engage with either the bottom rod or the top rod. So in this case, we're going to be moving it from the bottom rod up to the top rod. And let me get that engaged. There we go. And now whenever the feed is going, it's going to be turning this, and again, we'll be feeding that down. I got to get it the direction turned where it's all working in the right direction. So we're feeding down, but we'll get that worked out here in just a minute. Just about ready to start doing some planing, I think. All right, let's fire up the machine. Right now, I should be clear. I just want to let it cycle a couple of times, make sure I got my stops where I need them. I think I do already. And what we'll do is we're going to come in here and just kind of touch off on this. And the first pass, I'm not going to be making much of a cut at all, but then we'll just make a couple of light passes and make that roughing pass going down through there. I need to get my stroke length set and all that kind of stuff as well. So let's start the machine up. Bring that cutter in till it's just barely cutting right there. I'm going to crank it up. Now I've engaged the automatic down feed, so we're going to let that feed down. This is a light cut. Just kind of I'm hoping it's a light cut. We're just establishing it on that rough casting. I'm going to let that feed down. It may not touch much, but it was touching off just a little bit. Yeah, I think we're cutting this time. Yeah, light cut through there. I'm going to retract my cutter. I'm going to do another adjustment for my cut here. Here we go. Making a more solid cut this time. So we've got a cut going all the way down. It's a rough cut, but it's cleaned up the whole way down. I do want to cut a little bit deeper. I just want to, on these castings, I like to get below the surface of that cast iron a little bit to get into some softer metal for scraping, which will come up later. But I think I'm going to do another rough pass before we continue on with a planer cut on this and try to smooth that up a little bit. One of the things I don't really have on this machine is any kind of graduated scales that show me how far I'm moving things around, unlike most machine tools that I have. So I put a dial indicator on here. I just want to kind of get an idea. I want to make about I don't know, maybe a 30 thousandths depth of cut. I'm just thinking here. So I'm going to move the cutter toward me that amount. Let's see. That's 10, 20, 30 right there. I'm going to lock it back down, and we'll make another pass through there. We are making a full depth of cut now, and just peeling it right off. Looks good. All right, we'll bring you guys back here in a little bit. We'll go ahead and finish this cut out, and then probably be ready to do some planing cuts to put a finish cut on there. Just taking a look here at where we ended up, some of that dust off of there, and yeah, I mean, this is a roughing pass, but that's actually not too bad. Not a bad surface at all. I'm going to get that planing cutter that we had set up before. I say planing cutter, finish cutter. It's just flat across the bottom, and we'll just make some cuts through here and try to clean that up and get a little bit more smoother. So let me get that changed out over here on the tool holder, and we'll be back and try that out. I have my flat cutter back in here. I honed that up a little bit. And I'm not crazy with this setup, but this is about the best I can come up with. I've got this cutter here. It's going at a 90-degree angle. I had to stick it out a good bit to get the clearance of my tools back here. When it was in closer, I was going to bump into that. I had to get a little bit of height for those to clear as it goes down this plane. I think we've got clearance there, and I think this will be fine. We're going to be making very light passes with this. Ideally, I'd have a right angle cutter that was a little bit closer in here, though, just from a stability standpoint. And I've got where I can just manually lift this out of the way and clear that cutter on the return strokes. So yeah, I think we're ready to fire up and try it out. Unlike the last pass, we just want to take a few thousandths of an inch off of this one. Really light pass to clean that up. So let's try it out. We should be clearing everything here, but I'm going to go ahead and just let it run a cycle or two without doing any feeds. All right. This cutter here with a flat bottom on it just makes a smoother finish cut. All right, let's continue on. It's doing just fine. This probably will be our final pass. I could be taking a little bit wider cut, I think, but we're just going to roll with it right now. That is it. Well, this has been a fun little exercise. I have had a chance now to really use this machine a little bit. My comfort level has gone up a little bit. I've still got things to learn about this machine. There's no doubt about it. There's just only one way to learn a machine, and that's to get in there and to use it. Well, I can study, I can read. I've got books and stuff, and I've been looking at a lot of that too, to kind of get some learn some little tips and tricks on running a planer, because it's something I don't have a lot of experience with, but we're getting there. A couple of things that I've learned during this little exercise. Number one, I need to spend some time and make a few things for this machine to make it easier to operate and to use. I mentioned before, we need to come up with some proper hold down clamping setups on here. There's some very special tools for planer work, end stops and side stops and clamps and stuff to properly clamp stuff down. It's nothing big deal. It's just a matter of taking the time to make it. And I need to draw some of that stuff up and take the time to make it. Another thing is on this clapper box. I've been manually raising it up. It's probably not necessary. I mean, these tools were designed with that clapper box, it's going to automatically lift the tool out, but just to preserve the tool, you don't want it dragging at all on the way back if you can. And there are some little tricks that you can do to make that work, but I think what I'm going to try to do is come up with some type of actuator that will automatically raise this up at the end of cuts and drop it back down at the beginning of cuts, so I don't have to sit here and manually do this. Basically, I'm become part of the machine when I'm doing that, and I need to be able to stand back and watch and adjust and do other things while I'm doing that. Another little thing, and let me zoom you in here and show you this, simple but important. So I'm making my adjustments in here. Again, this gear comes in and out. I'm just going to set it up here right now, but you make your adjustments over here on these handles. The top one moves the cross slide in and out. The bottom one moves it side to side, and I'm needing to be able to crank on this. Well, the problem I've got is this handle. This is just a standard off-the-shelf handle for one of these. When you push it all the way in on this, it clears the end, but when I bring it around over here, it hits back here. I need this to be, when I put it on there, I need for it to stop a little bit. It needs to go in, and I need to have the clearance on the backside. So I need to modify this handle a little bit by probably just welding a little spacer on the end of it to give me that proper clearance. Not a big deal, but it is a big deal because I can't tell you how many times I've come over here and started making an adjustment, come down here and boom, you know, it's just aggravating. So I'm gonna have to probably just gonna modify this one. I think this is cast steel. I should be able to weld to that. If not, I can braze, and I can probably just braze a little spacer on the end of this and be able to clear that. I don't have much engagement. I don't know, we'll play around with it. I'll come up with something that works. I don't think it'll be a big deal, but it won't be a big deal to fix it, but it'll be a big deal in operating the machine. A couple other just little observations, I guess. You know, using a machine this old with the flat belts and all that kind of stuff, it's cool. I really, again, I'm a vintage machinery type guy, and I've always been mesmerized with the whole flat belt thing and line shaft driven shops. I've had a chance to work on a lot of old machines like that in the museums, and even when I worked in a machine shop, we had some old line shaft power. We had a couple in the shop, and I've just always been attracted by it. It's cool. But from the standpoint of using these old machines on a day in, day out basis, even if you've got a machine that's been rebuilt like this one that's in good shape, they're aggravating. They require attention to the belts and slipping and stuff like that. And you know, again, this one being all mechanical, I'm seeing in the finish, all those gears that are rubbing each other, kind of telegraphing into the finish. You know, if I was strictly interested in having a planer to use to do really good work on, I'd probably invest in a more modern machine that was hydraulically powered rather than this line shaft powered machine. But again, I like this. This is what I like. Part of me though kind of wishes that I had a hydraulic planer. I don't really have room for one, so I don't know if that's going to happen anytime in the near future. Who knows? But you know, I would just say, you know, if you're interested in getting a planer to use in a shop to actually do work on, you know, go ahead and invest in a little bit more modern machine than this. If you're just interested in it from the history standpoint, you want a functional machine, this works. It works fine. It could work better, but it works fine. You know, then a line shaft power machine like this is cool. You know, part of me would like to have a part of my shop set up with a line shaft and just have the machines in here, have my own little mini museum, because again, it's just cool. But at the same time, if you want to make parts all day long, you spend as much time working on the machines as you do working with them, and it's just not always very practical. Just some words of wisdom and words of caution. I'm not by any means telling people that are interested in flat belt machinery to stay away from it, don't go that route, only buy new stuff. It just depends on what your goal is. What is your goal? Is your goal to preserve history and experience history and do something the old school way that's kind of lost in time? There's nothing wrong with that. You know, if you're interested in making money in a shop that's being, you know, that you're doing production work or even, you know, job shop work, probably wouldn't recommend the line shaft route, just in full honesty. But again, for me, it's about the nostalgia. It's about the preserving the old machinery. You know, this planer probably should be in a museum somewhere rather than in my shop. As much work and effort went into it where it could be seen and used and whatever, but I like it. And I'm gonna play with it. Like I said, I've got another job coming up that we're gonna be setting up to do this on this machine in the very near future. And this was good practice for that. So from that standpoint, I'm gonna count this a success. Lots of opinions out there on planers. Lots of people that are in the mentality of, hey, I'm in a production environment, I need to crank parts out, this piece is junk, you need to get rid of it. You know, and in your environment, in that particular setting, you're probably right. But again, in a job shop, you know, where you're doing one-off parts and you can afford to slow down a little bit, the versatility of a planer and the work that can be done on it can often replace 2 or 3 other machines in your shop. Maybe not efficiently, but the nice thing about this is when you have that oddball piece that comes in and you don't have the right machine in your shop to do it on, and you don't want to have to send it out to another shop and pay them to do it, you don't want to have to spend thousands of dollars to buy a new machine just for one job, you can often get by with a planer or shaper and get the job done. And sometimes getting the job done is as important as doing it quickly and efficiently. So there are trade-offs and there are arguments that there is still a place for these machines in today's world. Guys, I've rambled on enough. I hope you've enjoyed seeing this, and hopefully we get to see this machine in action again coming up soon. I've got some homework and some things I need to do before we go over to those other jobs. But again, this process has helped me kind of wrap my mind around and figure out what I need to do before we go to the next step, which is the real project that I can't afford to screw up. So anyway, there you go. Guys, with that, we're gonna sign off. We're gonna get out of here. As always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button. If you're watching my videos, if you're watching things that I put out, just hit the button. It really helps me out a lot. Also, leave those comments down below. A lot of your comments aren't great. They're not fun to read, but you know what? They're comments and they help. So leave them. If you think what I'm doing is stupid, that's fine. You can say it. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I disagree with you, but we don't have to agree on everything. But leave those comments down below. If you like what you saw, hit that like button. That really helps out a lot. And as always, big, huge thank you to those who support the site financially through Patreon and PayPal. It really enables me to take the time to come out here and shoot these videos, share this stuff with you. I spend a lot of time just doing the video part of this. And now that I'm retired and actually working in the shop full time for a living, you know, income is important. It's the reality. So if you can help out, it really helps justify me doing that rather than just coming out here and making money in a shop like most people do. Guys, with that, we're going to sign off. We're going to get out of here. We'll catch you on the next video. Again, as always, thanks for watching.